Here we go. Oh.
Square is buried deep into the culture of Japan. Originally a spin-off from Masafumi Miyamoto's father's Powerline construction firm, for over 30 years its games have helped power the rise of Japanese games development. There are no shortage of games that live under the Square Enix banner, but none as big as Final Fantasy. From our Western perspective, there's an air of mythos around the company. The accepted truth behind the series' title is that it was named Final Fantasy as it was Square's make-or-break game to avoid impending bankruptcy. And even if the real answer has more to do with creating an acronym that could be pronounced in Western audiences, it's that first story that gets told. That's the legacy of this series. Stories about adventures that get passed from generation to generation, as nearby as the arcades of Akihabara and as far as the playgrounds of Europe. As the Final Fantasy series has moved from numeral to numeral, there have been high points and lows. But with each new game comes the promise of a new story, a new myth.
I love Final Fantasy X.
What happened with Final
that
Fantasy
game is honestly what made me
myth.
interested in the FF universe.
It comes from old reviews, archived message board threads, and through conversations with those who were there. The reason for this is that the original version of Final Fantasy XIV doesn't exist anymore. Unlike the vast majority of other old games, there is no way of playing it. It was redacted, painted over. Where once stood a game that threatened to sink the Final Fantasy brand forever, now stands the second most popular subscription MMO in the world. And as the years pass...
When was this made? 2017? Anyway.
Us, the myth of that original version and its incredible redemption story are at risk of disappearing. How did it all happen? How did the same studio that shipped a broken mess turn it all around in 2 years? Why did they make the decision to keep the old version still alive while secretly working on a brand new game? And how did they manage to make all of this, the redesign and rebirth, part of the game's lore? We knew this was
because, unlike some companies, they take advantage of the opportunity to use lore reasons to redo things in their universe, even though they don't even have something as directly fucking powerful enough to do this as like re-origination. Calamities are one thing, but re-origination is quite literally the power to reset an entire world, and Blizzard doesn't even use it.
Story worth telling, not only for those who were there to see it all go down, but for the millions of you who have never heard.
Literally, the story of the main bad guy in the world is that he was trying to reset the universe by bathing it in flame. And trying to reset the world by bathing it in flame, and hopefully life would rise again from the ashes. But, you know.
About this, who never knew the...
I will forge a new reality. Yeah, there is the jailer.
Extraordinary lengths the development team went to save
there he
this
is,
game.
bro.
So we did just that. Pack your bags, friends. NoClip is heading to Tokyo.
Fuck yeah, dude. I'm excited. I'm not gonna talk over this too much. I'm gonna enjoy this for what it is. What the fuck is that clip? Nice. It looks like a clip you see in a vaporwave music video. Oh, fuck. Nice. Wow. Look at those buildings. Holy shit. It's very interesting. The transitions are on point.
Hello and welcome to Shinjuku, Tokyo, home of Godzilla, restaurants full of dancing robots, and Square Enix, one of the most prolific video game companies in the world. For the past few months, I've been playing catch-up with this story, playing the latest version of the game, talking to players, and watching community retrospective series like the Speakers Network's fantastic fall and rise of Final Fantasy XIV. My goal, to make sure we asked the right questions when we sat down with the team. During our time here in Shinjuku, we're going to talk to everyone from the engineers who worked on the original game, to localization leads, community managers, and even the CEO of the company. All to allow them the opportunity to tell their side of this fascinating story.
Oh, he's got a fucking Orshifon necklace on.
Final Fantasy XIV happened
Nice.
in real time in front of
Orshifon
millions
pendant.
of people around the world. But we wanted to know about this story from an entirely new perspective, from inside the corporate machine that made it happen, that led to
Well,
its
I
terrible
mean, at least the
launch,
shield.
and ultimately its
Wasn't
incredible
I guess I don't know if it
rebirth.
was specifically Orshifon. You can buy those on Etsy where they're like the
My name
damaged
is,
version.
Michael Christopher
I almost
Koji
got one.
Fox. I am
Koji.
the English localization lead for Final
This
Fantasy
fucking
XIV.
guy.
My middle name is
This
Koji. It's
fucking
not something I
guy.
gave myself. It's a name my father gave me. My father was stationed in Japan for 2 years in the Navy when he was
Oh, wow.
young. Went back to the States. My mom had me. They wanted to give me a Japanese name.
Oh,
Family
shit.
was having none of that, so they kind of snuck it in the middle name. But then they always called me Koji, and so I guess the joke was on the rest of the family. You know, my dad being in the Navy didn't really learn a lot about Japan, other than he really liked Japan, but didn't learn any of the language. So I always knew
TLDR's
that
dad's a weeb.
my name was Japanese, but beyond that, I really didn't know anything about Japan. But there was always that little seed in there. And then when I got into high school, there's a Japanese class, and I like games. Oh, they make games in Japan. Hey, let me study Japanese. If I study Japanese, I can play all those cool Japanese games that never come out over in America.
True.
And it kind of just snowballed from there. When I graduated from high school,
What a motivated
I took
nerd.
a trip to Japan for 3 weeks.
He literally wanted to learn an entire language so that he could fucking play their video games. What a literal god, dude.
Love with it. And during that
Master
period, I got
weeb,
to visit
dude.
a lot of
That is
schools,
so awesome.
and a lot of English classes in those schools. And I thought, wow, I could probably do, I know English, I could do this, this'll be easy. It wasn't as easy
that better,
as I thought
guys?
it was going to be, but I studied a couple years at a university in America, then transferred over to Japan, started over 4 years at a university in Japan.
Wow.
Got my teaching license, and yeah.
It's hard work being a teacher.
Yes,
What a
I mean, I
like,
loved it.
I
but
love how they-
it was very
I don't know.
draining, and that's
I
why
like their
pretty much
buildings.
After you'd go to school at 6 in the morning
know how to-
for morning basketball practice, because I was the basketball coach. Because
Damn.
as my principal said, "Hey, you're tall. You're the basketball coach." Then you'd get into classes. I mean, I'd have my homeroom class, then I'd have 6 or 7 other classes teaching. Then you'd have after school. All of a sudden, it's there's after school basketball, and then you'd get home and you'd correct. So I was really, always at school every day. It was very draining.
Damn.
And I would go home and
Tall equals good at
I would
basketball.
play FF11. It was how I was able to relax.
Nice.
And being able to go into my little room and turn off
Oh
the
my
lights and put on
God.
my headphones and get into that world of
Oh my god. FF11. Oh my god.
Vanadil was something that helped me
STFU
escape.
fanboy. One, but I've only got 6 months of playtime for the most part. It's a paperweight. Shut the fuck up, fanboy.
from the stress. And
That game's still running? I
then it
know.
just happened to be, one day I was online, checking for 11 related information, and I saw that Square Enix was looking for a translator, and it just kind of, wow, that would be really cool.
That's convenient. That's so awesome. Dream come true.
Koji
Literal
wasn't
destiny.
alone. Final Fantasy XIV was launched in 2010, but the story of this game starts 8 years earlier with the launch of Final Fantasy XI, Square's first MMO, the early days of online. Many of the team who worked on 14 started on 11. One of those was Kasuga-san, who joined the company in 1999 to build a network infrastructure for this fledgling MMO.
自分はネットワークとサーバー担当で入っていて、なので一番最初にやっていたのが、当時プレイステーション2で初めて、厳密にはドリームキャストがその前にあるんですけれども、プレイステーションプラットフォームとしては、
Dreamcast, dude. Oh, man.
オンライン要素が入った初めての時期だったので、プレイステーション2でネットワークを作るために、
Dude, the PS2 is a
TCP/IP
fucking
のドライバーを作ったりとか、
literal god console, dude. One of the best consoles ever. if not the fucking best console ever, dude. Man. Amazing. Crazy.
まだ当時モデム通信の時代だったんで、PPP 通信とか、
Boomer.
あと ADSL がちょうど普及し始めた時期だったんで、ADSL の認証として使われた
DSL. Oh god.
本当にネットワークの下の部分、今だとあんまし誰も書かないようなところを書くっていう担当で入社してました。
The lowest version of the program.
スクエアエニックスって言いますか、スクエアが初めて、オンラインのあれだけの規模の、MMORPG 日本でやるってのはもう本当初めてだったんで、いやもう正直いろんなことがありましたよ当時ね。こんな言っちゃっていいのかな？言っちゃっていいの？OK なの？いいんだ。まずね、どういうことがあったかというと、
You're the boss. What are you talking about?
MMO とかね、海外例えばウルティマとかそういった先行事例あるんだけど、基本的に PC ですよね。で俺らがコンシューマー機でやるなんてもう無謀の極みだとかってね、もうたくさんそういうふうに言われました。ソニーさんがPS2 のハードディスク BB キットなんかもですね、もう何台出すんだとか安堵がそういうのを吸ったもんだしていろんなことがありましたんで、ほとんど不可能だとかでよく言われてましたよ、実際には。成功なんて。
11 was my first MMO. I hadn't played one before. I remember purchasing the PlayStation 2 broadband unit because they were all sold out.
We never had that.
On
I didn't even know that was a thing. I'm going to be honest with you. I had no idea that was even a modification or a thing that you could get. So.
Like some Yahoo auction or something like that. Ridiculous, but I had to play it. We got a new internet connection. We were on a regular modem at that time, but because we need a new modem, we had to upgrade to ISDN 128.
Oh my god!
It was definitely worth it.
You guys imagine
something that was completely.
Although
new
my
to
brother
me,
is calling me.
And ever since then, I've been into MMOs. That was the gateway drug for me. Going in from FF11.
He literally called me to talk shit about the fact that I didn't know that was a thing. He called me to he literally called me to tell me that I'm stupid, is what he just did.
Well, getting into World of Warcraft, seeing the differences between the two. And then me, again, not having played an MMO before, getting on this team and thinking, okay,
good for you.
MMO, and translating away and working in that project, I kind of, started thinking, okay, this.
He lived a lot of his life free, didn't he? And then he came here and played his first MMO. And now look at him.
This is what an MMO is. This is what an MMO is. And then that one day I
his face. Wow. It was just his face. That was his eyes all big like that. Just cracked me up. And now he's bald.
The differences between the two, and I'm saying like, okay, what I thought was the norm in Final Fantasy XI.
That's such a bad pause. I know, that's the point.
20 hours
he walked
to
free.
Go up one level, and then only to have your level drop when you pull too many crabs and it kills
that's
you
awful.
And you've lost 5 hours work.
To go down levels, I would literally.
That's not normal, is it? The Japanese base game, Final Fantasy XI, had already released, and they were working on the first expansion pack.
Imagine in RuneScape, dude. You get a 99.
The team that was working
you die, D-level.
The base game and Rise of Zolart all translated.
Go back down to 98.
The Japanese Rise of Zolart was finished, so we could all release at the same time.
Right. Did you get it on time?
We're all balding on the inside and the outside.
I haven't missed a deadline yet. That's one thing I'm proud of.
Never missed a deadline?
Final Fantasy XI was a huge success for Square Enix. It established a concurrent user base of around 250,000 players for years. It was the most profitable Final Fantasy game ever, and at one stage was the 6th most popular game on all of Xbox Live. More than that, it established the Japanese style of MMO.
Behind like what, Halo?
When the decision was made in 2005 to start work on a sequel, the new MMO was built around things that made 11 successful.
Oh, Jesus.
Focusing, like most Final
Yeah. On the great things
Fantasy games do, on beautiful graphics and an interesting battle system. This new game
wait, is this when the Gubu got loose in the market and Minfilia's mom died?
Of MMO. And when the decision was made in 2005
was it her mom or her dad?
To start work on a sequel, the new MMO was built around things that made 11 successful, focusing like most Final Fantasy games do on beautiful graphics.
Escaped Gubu. Neil Fresnay? And Thancred. My man. Mancred, Thancred. You've escaped. The escape Gubu's engaged. Oh, jeez. Wow.
graphics, and an interesting battle system. This new game was to be directed and produced by the same duo that shipped 11, series veteran Hiromichi Tanaka and Nobuaki Komodo. Final Fantasy XIV was announced for Windows and PlayStation 3 in 2009, but behind the scenes the development team was struggling to put the pieces of its new world together.
ファイナルファンタジー14のその最初のバージョンの、自分が見た時の一番大きな問題点、最終的にそれが問題だったと考えているものっていうのは、その最初のコンセプトとしてその
These are the famed docks of Vesper Bay, the only place you'll find safe passage to Limsa. Of course, these ferries ain't free. Usually. Okay, sorry, I just wanted to read that.
プランナーがスクリプトを書くことによってゲームを作っていこうで、利点としては、プランナーが考えて自分たちで実装するんで高速な開発ができる。要はそうじゃないと基本的にはプランナーさんはものを考えて開発者にエンジニアに相談してどう実装するかを決めて、でゲームデザインをする人はそのどういうパラメータをいじりたいかとかを相談しながらエンジニアと話をしてものを作っていかなきゃいけないんですけれども、そこの部分に関してスクリプトを導入すると自分で考えて自分で実現することができるようになるっていう発想でゲーム実装の大半がスクリプトで組まれてたんですね。でそのスクリプト UI の問題もそうなんですけれども、ゲームも UI も基本的にはスクリプトで書かれていて、でスクリプトを動かすエンジン側がかなり負荷が高いというか CPU をたくさん使わないと動かない状態になっているんで、ちょっとした何かをするだけでもゲーム内で少し何かをするだけでも非常に CPU リソースを使うことになっていて、
The way that they built it inherently
サ
just
ーバーが回るサイク
fucked
ルが
it.
遅くなっていくっていうこと
That
が
sucks.
問題として発生していました。
And the servers,
結果と
yeah,
して
that
その
sucks.
サーバーでできることはあとゲームとしてサーバーで実現できるところは少ないですし、何かしようとすると負荷が上がっちゃうんで、じゃあそれを回避するためにどうしようとかっていうことで結果的にそのゲーム内容としてリッチなものが実現できなくなっているってことが起きてましたね。で UI もスクリプトで組まれていたので、なんかちょっと処理するだけでもすごい時間がかかるっていうような問題が発生していました。
It became a lot of just tiny little groups making something that was really great, but once you put it together, it was kind of a mess. And no one really knew that, except for localization and probably QA as well. And we're like, okay, we need to do something. But by then it was one of those, it's kind of too late to do anything. But for us, we would...
Her name is Asilia. She lost her father some time ago, and with him all that was left of her family. We were finally able to hold a proper funeral, but the girl's future still weighs heavily on my heart. Would you believe she says she wants to be a miner here in Ulda? Asilia.
It wouldn't make sense, or it would just be very bland, and thinking, if there's any way to make this game better, what can we do? It's like, well, I can take this text and maybe add some more stuff into it, add some more flavor to it, and maybe that will distract people from the fact that the battle is not that fun.
At a fundamental level, the piecemeal design of the game was causing problems. Graphics were inconsistent. While many elements of the world were copy and pasted ad nauseum, some environmental objects had as many polygons and shaders as a character model. The battle system was just confusing. The game didn't have elements fundamental to most modern MMOs, things like jumping, auto attack, and the ability to interact with the map using a mouse. It had a system that nerfed hardcore players to make sure they didn't level up too fast. The UI was confusing, crafting was incredibly complex and took forever, and simply there just wasn't enough content. The closed beta wasn't going well. They needed more time to fix these problems, so the open beta was pushed back to within a month before launch. The team knew there were problems, and they were getting frustrated.
で今まで話していた仕事っていうのは大体その2010年の1月から、実際にリリースされる 8月ぐらいまでの間にやっていたことで、ゲームが本当に良くないっていうのがみんなに
When we took notice of the game not being good. Fuck.
されていくっていうのはベータが始まって製品版が始まってっていう8月9月10月ぐらいまでの期間に
kind of went from thinking, okay, this project's going to be great, to, uh-oh, there might be some problems. Can we fix them? Can we fix them?
Still beta.
Okay, we can't fix them. Is there anything we can do? I don't know. It was a very taxing experience.
The team crossed their fingers and hoped that the game's beta problems were simply that, the same issues that most MMOs have, ones that could be fixed with patches once the game entered live operations. And so Final Fantasy XIV Online launched on September 30th, 2010. It sold well its first week, and after a month had over 600,000 players swarming into its world. But it didn't take long for the cracks to appear. The problems in the beta were echoed by new players. The game was sluggish, the servers crashed, and Eorzeans quickly ran out of things to do. Quests were limited, and the fatigue system even made grinding for XP next to impossible. Critics ate it alive too.
Let's get right down to it. Unless you've got the patience of Job or some kind of masochist, you shouldn't play Final Fantasy XIV. Its problems are so vast that I could spend hours talking about them. The awful interface, the recycled content, the stringent limits on questing, the useless maps, the stupid market ward, these issues and dozens more constantly have you asking that age-old question, what were they thinking?
Drinking lava.
What was it like seeing public reaction?
Yeah, it was very, I mean...
When you... How was it seeing public reaction? Yeah, it was, yeah. Oh, that's like painful. You can like feel it when he says it. It was, I mean, very disheartening.
Very disheartening, because you know you'd want to look at those and you'd want to say no, they don't understand, they don't know what's going on here, or but deep down you'd know they were right, and that was what kind of that dagger in your heart and it's twisting, because you want to defend what you worked on. I mean, the people that I worked with are the greatest people. I mean, I still work with a lot of them.
Literally Blizzard. Dude, it's true.
I consider them not only coworkers but friends. But and then you see people online, bashing the work they did, and I know how hard they worked. I know how many hours they put in. I know that, like, in the last 3 or 4 months,
real people with real passions who really put in a lot of fucking work,
all putting their 100% into this game that was, destined to kind of crash and burn. And then to have people online just say, oh, that sucks, this person is a piece of shit, and their work is terrible. It hurts, but it hurts more because if I was not here and was a user and had played that game, I probably would have said the same thing.
そうですね。
That sucks.
当時はね、私CFO やってたんで見てたんですけれども、ローンチのタイミングやっぱり一番大きく違ったのは11の時のいろいろごたごたねと9の14の時のごたごた一番違うっていうのは。11の時はいろいろごたごたあったけど、ゲームに関して言うとさすがに相当やっぱり相当程度やっぱり受け入れファン相当のやっぱり評価されたんですよね。でオペレーション上のねトラブルとかっていろいろ多分あるっていうのは、これはある程度つきもので、大変だったんですけれども、それはあったんですけど、ゲーム内容に関して言うと非常に評価されたというふうに理解してますけれども、前作の場合の一番やっぱ私はちょっとまずいなこれって思ったのは、やっぱりゲーム自体の評価が非常に厳しいものだったということですね。これはちょっとやっぱり相当大丈夫かなというのを、ローンチした後ね、やっぱりそこはね非常にリアルに感じましたね。それはそうですね、ローンチして、しばらく経って、そんなに長い期間じゃなかったですね。そうしばらくなんでやっぱり相当なこのままで大丈夫なのかという。
I mean, the first few months was just an endless stream of translating apology mails from producers and directors and finding out, trying to figure out different ways of saying we're sorry, because the more you say it, the less weight it has. But
True.
Japan being a country where people apologize a lot, that's part of the culture. But then trying to translate that, it's like, okay, this is the 10th time I've said sorry in this one post, and then from the American myself, it's like, yeah, people are going to look at that as insincere. The more you apologize, the more and then trying to explain that to the team, it's like, no, we have to apologize. It's like, yes, you have to apologize, but and it just became, we weren't talking about the game anymore. We were talking about how to translate apologies, and it seemed like that lasted for a couple months.
Actually, we see a huge drop. I mean, right after the launch timing, we got some good number of the subscribers. Then that fall, I mean, as you can imagine. So I mean, it was failure, and we announced a failure. So we see lots of decline.
さっきも話した通り、実際にはその開発内でもその今リリースすべきかっていうかリリースできるクオリティにあるかっていうのはベータ直前とかベータが始まってもそうなんですけど常に疑問はあったのでリリースして実際にただ、それまでにチーム内にあった空気はやはり出したら意外と受け入れられる可能性があるんじゃないかっていう漠然とした出せばどうにかなるのかも自分たちが思っているほど悪くないのかもっていう何の根拠もない希望的なものがあったんですね。
Dude, that'd be so fucking stressful.
結局そんな魔法は起きなくてやはり自分たちが感じている通りにまだ世に出すには早いというか世に出せるクオリティに達していない商品を出してしまったっていう気持ちはみんなにあったんで実際に改善しなきゃっていうか根本的に対応しなきゃいけないっていうところはチーム内に割とすごい必要があったとなので特にすごいそんなことはないっていう意見がすごく強くあって誰かを説得しなきゃいけないみたいなことは特になかったですね。
Today, Square Enix is based across multiple floors in a modern office complex in Shinjuku, Tokyo. It's a company that is often designing multiple projects at once. And while Final Fantasy XIV was being developed, in another part of the building a different game was being made. Produced by a Final Fantasy fan, his name, Naoki Yoshida.
一番最初はファミリーコンピューターUS だとエンターテインメントシステムかのマリオブラザーズが一番最初にプレイしたゲームです。とにかくテレビの中テレビっていうのは見るものだと思っていた子供の時にところがマリオブラザーズで初めてコントローラーを握ってゲームをプレイした時にまずそもそもテレビのものを自分が自由に動かせるっていうことがものすごいショックで友達の家でプレイさせてもらったんだけどものすごい興奮したのを覚えてますね。ドラゴンクエストっていう日本で RPG を大きく広めたタイトルを
Oh yeah, dude. Dragon
触った
Quest.
時にアクションでは
Yeah,
ない
I see the
ゲーム
pendant. Oh, it is the
数字の
one.
やり
Yeah,
取
it
り
is the ultra fun
で
one.
こんなにまたさらにゲームは面白くなる
It's the broken one.
特にストーリーラインがあってっていうまた次のカルチャーショックを受けて RPG っていうジャンルにものすごくフォーカスしていくことになったかなとは思います。当然翌年に出たファイナルファンタジーにも映画的な演出ファンタジーをより強く打ち出したっていうところにもすごい衝撃を受けてたのでやっぱり僕の中でドラゴンクエストとファイナルファンタジーっていうのはすごい大きかったですね当時。
Like most Japanese players at the time, Yoshida-san played all the early Final Fantasy games. He holds them in high regard, though he still holds the bitter memory of not being able to save before the last dungeon in Final Fantasy III. But when he was 11 years old, a brand new type of gaming experience arrived at home. His uncle gave him a PC. On this PC, the young gamer learned how to program BASIC. His first video game centered around trying to break into a bank vault. But this PC also exposed him to a spectrum of gaming that eluded most Japanese players. Western role-playing games. He fell in love with games like Diablo and was stunned when he first went online and played with other players.
でその翌年にウルティマオンラインをベータか
Ultima
ら
Online? I don't think I've ever seen Ultima
先輩に
gameplay.
とにかくすげえゲームあるって言われてウルティマオンラインを
Oh,
ベ
there you
ー
go.
タから始めたのが初めて MMO をプレイした作品でやっぱり同じようなその
Nice.
3回目の衝撃3000人が同時に一つの世界で遊ぶっていうのがもうとてつもないまた衝撃でしたね。まあウルティマは本当に自由度のウルティマオンラインは特にとにかく初期は自由度がめちゃくちゃ高いゲームだったのでいわゆるロードの称号をつけたなんて言ったらいいんだろうなすごく紳士的なというかコミュニティリーダー的プレイをするキャラクターと完全に悪のプレイヤーキラーをやるキャラクターを2つ作ってどっちもものすごい遊んでたしやっぱりMMORPG っていうゲームがどう作られているのかどういったエンジニアリングが必要なのかっていうのもものすごいそこで勉強させてもらったと思います。 もうその頃からはコンソールと同じぐらいの比重で PC でゲームをかなり遊ぶようになってたので、自分で PC パーツ買ってきて組み立てたりしてたし、でやっぱりそのあたりで FPS もかなりプレイし始めてたし、特に 3DMMO のスタートであるエヴァクエスト、その後プレイをし始めて、当時エヴァクエストのパッケージを日本で手に入れるのが本当に大変で、出張で東京に来た時に秋葉原をね、時間を作ってゾンビのように店をこううろうろして、エヴァクエストってゲームないですか、エヴァクエストってないですかって。
Yoshida-san would embark on a career in games that would eventually see him joining Square Enix to work on the Dragon Quest series. Though he wasn't working on the Final Fantasy team, he was part of the umbrella group that was allocating programmers to various projects. He didn't have granular visibility on FF14, but he knew the team was struggling. I asked from his perspective as a producer where he thought the game's problems were coming from.
わかんない、これ広報にカットされるのかもしれないけど、クリスタルツールズって呼ばれるミドルウェアを全社で作ろうとしていたので、腕のいいプログラマーが全部そのチームに各ゲームラインから招集されて、そのメインプログラマーがみんないないっていう状態になってしまったので、どのプロジェクトもものすごい大変な時期だった。
Crystal
オ
tools?
リジナルの14がああなってしまった理由の一つでもあるかなとは思いますね。さらに2つ大きな問題がそこに絡まっていて、スクエアエニックスその全体にプレイステーション2のジェネレーションで本当に世界一クオリティ、グラフィックスのクオリティが高い、そしてゲームエクスペリエンスがものすごく詰まったゲームっていうのをたくさんリリースしたので、本当にこうなんていうんだろう、ある意味自信過剰にもうなっていた時期で、自分たちが世界一だし、自分たちのグラフィックスこそが世界一だし、その作り方はその自分たちにしかできない。だからなんだろう、でも超巨大な成功体験ってやっぱり
Hey Lumino,
足かせというか、
your arrogance
例だと思うんですよ。
blinds you, Titan puppet.
ものすごくおごってた、
You will never
おごって
contain
た時期
me.
だったと思うんですね。まず例えると、その刀を作る刀匠のような職人たちが本当にたくさんいて、彼らが一つずつを手作りで作って世界一のクオリティを作り上げていたんだけど、実は世界は、特にその北米を中心にテクノロジーでそれをカバーするっていうところをずっと追求してきた時期で、プレイステーション3の世代になった瞬間にテクノロジーの方がそれを上回るっていう時期が来たせいで、作り方を変えようとはしないし、だけどテクノロジーも追いつけないっていうことから、さらにそれを知ってるはずのプログラマーたちはミドルウェアの制作に行ってるっていう状態で、でもグラフィックス作ってるそのアーティストたちは自分たちの作り方こそが世界一だと思ってるので、古い作り方で引き続きものすごく負荷のかかるやり方でアセットを作ってたので、もうそれらが絡まってっていうのがもう一つの大きな。
I think WoW struggles with the asset development too, especially with how they paint and skin their assets. I think that that probably does not help WoW. They have a very unique art style and very unique way of developing them, in that they're hand painted. Everything is all the textures are painted by a brush by a real person. So it takes an absolute metric fuck ton of time to paint it and then scale it and then skin it. Not gonna lie, a lot of them look worse. Oh, I know. I definitely think 14 looks better. WoW just has a very, I'm just saying it's a unique kind of weird art style that I think is maybe a little bit outdated. And yeah, really. Yeah, everything is painted, yeah. Unique? No, I think WoW does have a unique aesthetic. And I honestly I don't mind it. I mean, guys, I play RuneScape, so the aesthetic is important for me, but it's not that fucking important. But I think WoW has its own unique art style, and I think it looks good in different ways. So, but I think generally, like the resolution, like I like the art style of this game a little bit more. I think a little just more realistic.
もう一つはプライドはいついかなる時でも
It's kind of like how Dragon Quest kind of had its own aesthetic, like Dragon
そ
Quest
こにやっぱり
and
超巨大な成功体験を
Yeah,
し
everything
た
just,
ってい
you
う
know.
こと自体が乗っかってきちゃうとその自分たちの作るゲームこそがベストであって他をあんまり見る必要がないっていう時期でもあったんじゃないかなと思っていて例えば当時世界多分 MMORPG を知ってる人に世界最大の MMORPG は何ですかって言ったら100人に聞いたら100人がワールド・オブ・ウォークラフトって言ったはずなのに誰もプレイしてない開発チームがこれはワールド・オブ・ウォークラフトを知ってるか知ってないかっていう話だけの話をしてるんじゃなくてその自分たちが世の中に対して新しいそのビデオゲームをリリースしようとするときにライバルになるタイトルは何だろうとかユーザーは今プレイヤーはどこにそのゲームエクスペリエンスの最新の状態をプレイしてるんだろうっていうのを知らないっていうのがその感覚として僕には結構信じられないなんでもっとみんなゲームプレイしないのだって自分たちが今どの辺りにいるか分かんなくなっちゃうよ
Hold on, let me rewind. Sorry.
世の中に対して新しいそのビデオゲームをリリースしようとするときにライバルになるタイトルは何だろうとかユーザーは今プレイヤーはどこにそのゲームエクスペリエンスの最新の状態をプレイしてるんだろうっていうのを知らないっていうのがその感覚として僕には結構信じられないなんでもっとみんなゲームプレイしないのだって自分たちが今どの辺りにいるか分かんなくなっちゃうよっていうのがまあ言いたいで特に14の場合に関してはもちろんファイナルファンタジー11の超巨大な成功体験っていうのが邪魔をしたっていうのもあるとは思うんだけどあの当時はエヴァークエストを徹底的にプレイをしてだからこ
It's
そ
almost like
11を作ったは
it's
ず
crazy. It's crazy to think
な
this.
のに
It's crazy to think. In order to make your game better, maybe go and play other competing games and see what you like about them. And then just take that idea, customize it to make it your own, make it unique, and put it in your game. Crazy.
新しいレストランをオープンするときに隣にあるレストランがどんな
Mob had a
メニュー
great
を出してい
fucking
て
story.
どんなサービス
Pyro,
を
what
し
does
てる
your
か
shirt say? Sounds pretty toxic. Oh, jeez. I like my whip it and maybe 3 people. Sounds toxic, Pyro. What? Oh, that's a meme. You guys are memeing me.
知らずにレストラン開店させる人はいないんじゃないって
So, just at the launch stage then of 1.0, what was the feeling within Square Enix? The beta was quite close to launch. Were people anticipating that there would be negative feedback, or were they less aware that that was going to happen, I guess?
僕は他のチームにいてすごくベータの評判が悪いっていうのはネットでニュースは見てましたね
So this is before he's part of it.
多かれ少なかれ MMORPG のローンチは絶対に、
Yep.
あれ安いそうサーバーがすぐ落ちるとか、
Yep.
ストレステストをやってるけどプレイヤーの方は遊びたいからやっぱりサーバーが落ちるとやっぱりすごく文句を言って当然だと思いますしだから僕もやっぱり11を作ったチームだからそうは言っても11のやっぱり完成度が高いのでそこと比較をしてあの機能がないこの機能がないっていう話をしてるのかなっていうふうに思ってた僕は僕自身の開発が忙しかったのもあってただそれも少しずつ収まっていくんだろうなっていうふうに僕は当時は見てたただ別の角度今度はそのオリジナルの14チームの中のその視点としてはこのままだと本当にまずいもっと時間をかけて品質を上げないとっていうもちろん声を上げる人たちもいたけれど会社って全体の判断としてはファイナルファンタジー11のスタートもそうだったと機能たくさんなかったしものすごくネガティブなフィードバック
Listen, sorry. Legion did not have shit storytelling. If you think Legion had shit storytelling, You weren't paying attention to the story in Legion. Legion has open to close probably the most cohesive and interesting story of any expansion, besides maybe Wrath of the Lich King. Legion had a dope fucking story. And so did Mob. I think Legion was one of the best expansions ever. And the raids in Legion are some of the best of all time. People just got tired of Fell Green, you know? Completely isolated, though? I disagree. The story of Legion is not isolated. What are you fucking talking about? The Legion is literally the reason for the story's main storyline. Do you understand that? Sargeras and the Titans. Literally the open and shut fucking main storyline of WoW. Yeah, I'm glad people are finally giving Mop the props it deserves. Mop was fucking sick. Don't get baited. Oh, I'm not getting baited. I'm just telling him the truth. Yeah. The Legion is why we have WoW. Yeah, they say that, but it literally doesn't play out anywhere else. What are you talking about? All of the story in World of Warcraft led up to Legion. After Legion is when it got bad. Oof. BFA was a oof. BFA was beautiful. Actually pretty good questing and stuff. But then N'Zoth happened and anyway.
たくさん来たけど、パッチでどんどん直していって、11は完成したんだから、14も大丈夫だと。最初は絶対こうなんだっていう風に判断したので、ベータを終わらせてリリースへ踏み切ったっていうのが当時のジャッジだったって、僕はチームに入ってからインタビューをしてそれを確認したので、チームの中ではやっぱり議論はあったそうです。あのままじゃダメ、まずいっていう話は。ただ最終的なジャッジは今お話しした通り、11の時もそうだった。でも11だってずっとパッチを続けて、ああなったじゃないかと。
Eventually, corporate realized that this wasn't usual launch problems, so they called on a few select members of the team to create a task force. This task force would research what changes the game needed and the resources the development environment would require to do the work. Members of that team would talk to Yoshida-san about their worries after hours. His thoughts were that the current organizational structure would need to be modified if the team was going to make the changes required. In October of 2010, Yoshida-san talked to the then Square Enix president Yoichi Wada and suggested they initiate a company-wide emergency to get the team the resources they needed. Wada-san spent a few days talking to the 14 development team about their concerns, and while a lot of the team had suggested that the current task force was in fact up to the task, some members of the 14 team had pleaded to have Yoshida-san join the project to help. And so it transpired that in late November, corporate took the decision to remove Hiromichi Tanaka from the team and move Nobuaki Komodo from director to lead designer. Both of their vacant positions would be filled by Yoshida-san. At that time, he was leading a team that was working on
Get both of these guys out of here. I'm gonna just take both they fucking jobs. I'm gonna just do both of it. Since they can't, this motherfucker can't do this and this motherfucker can't do this, I'm gonna just do both. Okay.
For Square Enix.
Okay.
He was disappointed to leave that team, but excited for the opportunity to work on one of the company's crown jewels.
He job changed. I know.
Final Fantasy game.
I just meant, yeah, you know what I mean.
He got right to work.
やらなきゃいけないことが当時3つあると思ってて、まあ順番にやってったんですけど、まずそのチームに、まあオリジナルのチームに。トップが変わります。であとそのタスクフォースメンバーもそのまま開発コアとしてリードに入りますっていう当然話をしなきゃいけない全チームに。ただ僕はドラゴンクエスト側のゲームを開発することが多かったので、そのほとんどのスタッフを知らないというか、まあ顔と名前ぐらいは知ってるスタッフはいたけど、その一緒に仕事したことがある人がほとんどいなかったので、まず「Say hello」っていうところからで、一度もみんな仕事したことがないからどんな仕事をする人間なのかを見てくれればいいよってまずで、あ、こいつダメだと思ったらチームを抜けて構わないからっていう話を最初にして、一緒に仕事してみよう。でも1回はいいよねって。でそれでダメだと思ったら本当すぐ抜けて構わないから3ヶ月ぐらいまず一緒にやろうよっていう話を僕スピーチでした記憶があります。でまあもう一回 チャレンジするよ。まあ当然その時申請するなんて話はまだ計画がなかったので、とにかく立て直しをやるよと、ギブアップはしないよっていう話をした時に、僕を知ってる何人かはよしやるぞっていう人たちと、もういい、もう無理だよっていう人たちと、なんだよこの急な体制変更って言ってまあ怒ってる雰囲気の人たちとっていうのが大体のその時の雰囲気でしたね。まあそんな中で今も14のサウンドディレクターやってる曽健が、まあ、その話をしてた時と大きなホールだったんですけど、2階のサウンドブースで僕のマイクの調整とかやってくれてて、その曽健があいつだけですよやり直すぞっていうか、リベンジするぞって言ったらガッツポーズしてたのはあいつだけです。今でも覚えてますよ。2階席でおっしゃーってやってたんで、あいつ。
I saw both reactions. I saw the, oh my God, we just went through a year of hell and now he's asking us to go through a year and a half of hell to this point that might, be another failure because, no one had taken a game and rebuilt it in this manner before. So basically saying like, yeah, you just have to trust me, and yeah, you could, waste another year and a half of your life and it could be a failure, and, but you're gonna have to believe me on this one. And so yeah, a lot of people are like, I can't do this anymore, I don't know. And I can understand that because again, it was a gamble. But then on the other hand, there were, a lot of us, myself included, but a lot of people on the team that were like, no, we worked so hard on this and we did our jobs the best that we could, but for a lot of, reasons, some circumstances that were out of our control, decisions made by higher ups, decisions made by other teams that affected our work, and nothing that we could do about it. But we had put our all into it and we were invested in the project. We still believed in the project. To have someone from the outside come in and not just come in to say, okay, forget it, we're just going to do it my way or the highway. He's like, he asked our opinions. He laid out a roadmap. He gave us a vision and a hope. And even though it seemed like it would be difficult to achieve, it didn't seem inconceivable.
Yoshi P knew there was no time to wait. He worked with corporate to make sure the team had time off, both for them to relax,
God
but also
damn
to give
it,
him time
dude.
to build his new vision.
Where hope exists, we make room for healing, for all things that are possible and some that are not.
To do research playing other MMOs, and to help draft his plan, to deliver the vision and how the team was going to do it. They had very little time to fix this game, so once they started, the specifications document would have to be watertight, and as captain of the ship, he needed to be able to answer every question the team may have, quickly.
Yoshida-san was now at the helm of his first Final Fantasy, and as an avid MMO fan, he was looking forward to getting in there and fixing it. What he couldn't have known at this stage was the scale of the job ahead of him, that no matter how much they patched Final Fantasy XIV Online, they couldn't ever fix it. What they'd have to do was something that no developer had ever done, to rebuild an entire MMO while the original version was still running.
I don't think that they realized immediately that it was something that couldn't be solved via patches. I think they still believe that, if we patch it, it'll be
RuneScape
fine.
did that, didn't they?
And it wasn't until
I guess
they
it wasn't.
reevaluated and
It's
then
kinda like
brought
that.
in, the new blood. Yoshida-san came
EOC in that
told
update
them,
is
"Okay,
basically
yeah,
an
this is
entirely
not
different
something
game.
that can be patched. If we want to fix this, we're going to have to take a drastic step."
Burn it.
Yoshida spent 7 weeks
Burn it.
researching and returned with 2 options for corporate. It was then he realized that it would be impossible to convert the current game into an MMO that could last the test of time. Ultimately though, this was a decision that corporate had to make. So he returned with not 1, but 2 plans. Plan A and Plan B. During this meeting, he explained that Plan A would be to patch the game and make it more playable, but that ultimately the game would never
that?
really satisfy players. And Plan B. During this meeting,
Dissidia? Dissidia? I'm not familiar with this, but I see Y'shtola. And that looks like the fake Titus. Or maybe that's real Titus. I don't know. It looks like the fake one. And is that... That looks like... Oh, that kind of reminds me of Shototo. Dissidia is a fighting game? Oh. Cool. Nice. I never played that. Real Titus? Okay. Shan Toto. Yeah, that's what I said. Shan Toto. Also a black mage. Right?
meeting, he explained that plan A would be to patch the game and make it more playable.
It's pretty bad.
Ultimately,
It's really
the game
good.
would never
It's fine.
really satisfy players.
I'm
And
not
though
really good at
Square
fighting
Enix
games,
may
to be
make
honest
their
with you.
money back, the damage to the online brand would be catastrophic.
Just button mash.
Then there was plan B.
今のファイナルファンタジー当時のオリジナルのファイナルファンタジー14を
Inspiration for the 14 character in your Black Mage questline? Oh yeah.
そのできる限りポジティブに遊べるものにしながら裏で全く新しいそのファイナルファンタジー14をもう一度作り直すっていうのがプラン B でまあその話だけを聞くとまあそんなバカなってなるので当然どうやってそれを達成するかチームを2つに分けてでどういったそのマネジメントスタイルでそれをやるのかで大体発売時期はプレイステーション3版をリリースするっていうのがプレイヤーとの約束だったのでプレイステーション3の寿命が
What a monumental task. Oh
2012
god.
年年末から2013年中には絶対リリースできるこの計画であればっていうプレゼンテーションをしてリスクは高いただ当然そんなことをしたことはないしゲーム業界で
Dude.
同じタイトルで作り直してるから
That's fucking nuts.
成功うまくいったとしても成功するかどうかはわからないただ少なくともやっぱりファイナルファンタジーってクレイジーだねとかすごいことするねとか少なくとも自分たちがミスしたことを認めて信頼を取り戻そうとしたっていう努力は見てくれてる人は多分見てくれるだろうだからどっちをチョイスするかは会社に任せるただどっちであっても全力でやるよっていう話をプレゼンテーションして、まあ、結果的にはねプラン B でって言ってくれたんで今こうなってますけど
Go big or go home.
Final Fantasy XIV 1.0 was in a state of disarray. Square Enix had decided to suspend subscriptions to help ease the negativity around the game, while the PS3 version was indefinitely postponed. For the next 2 years, Yoshida-san and his team would work tirelessly on not one, but 2 MMOs, patching the original 1.0 to fans' expectations, while secretly working on a brand new version of Final Fantasy XIV. In our next episode, we focus on that.
So they didn't say anything about it to anybody. All of these people continue to play 1.0 and nobody knew that they were working on another game.
Period. And tell the incredible story of the falling moon of Dalamud, the death of 1.0, and the birth of a new Eorzea.
Damn. Got the patrons on here. Nice. Here we go. Part 2. I'm liking this, dude. This is really great insight to like the struggles that they actually had to deal with. I didn't realize some of the details here that they were continuing to work on one.
So what did you think from your perspective
while secretly
as
making
CFO,
2. I didn't
to fix this problem? It's going to
I guess
cost
I didn't realize that.
money. It's going to involve creating a new game. It's going to involve keeping the other game still running. Did you think at that time that that was a solid investment, that that's what Square Enix should be doing, or did you think that it was a risky venture?
単純にそこだけ見るとねすごくリスクの高い話多分
It was
一
whack.
般的には多分なるというふうに思うんですけれども、まあさすがに
Thank you guys for the
当初はね
subs. Sorry that I haven't really been responding to them.
もうこれだけの
I'm just really interested in this.
タイトルなわけですから、それがこのままサービスが頓挫してしまうというのはこれは非常に将来的にまずいと。これはやっぱり経営上これ非常に大きなダメージを与えるということで、再度作り直しと並行してやるということの投資に関してはこれはまあはっきり言ってやっぱりやるべきっていうか、まあ、やらざるを得ないというふうな判断でしたね。ものすごい財務的なリスクがものすごい大きかったですけどね。
Caring about the brand damage. Omega lull. Imagine caring about your game's reputation. Imagine.
Hello and welcome back to our series on the fall and rise of Final Fantasy XIV Online. We rejoin Yoshida-san and the team at Square Enix at the start of a long adventure, and with players leaving en masse and the clock ticking, it was time for them to formulate a plan. But how exactly do you rebuild an MMO while people are still playing it?
Yoshida-san set his eyes on a 2013 launch date for the new version of 14, as he wanted to have the game out for fans within the PlayStation 3's lifecycle. But to do this while still patching 1.0, he would have to create an entirely new MMO in less than half the time of most conservative estimates. So before we get into specifics of what exactly was changed, I wanted to know how he did it. So for a moment, we step away from game design and dive into a critically important aspect of video games development that we rarely talk about: project management.
How do they
Designing
fix it?
an
They
MMO
summon a
must-
primal.
I just imagine the timeline for something like this is at least 5 years for anything. And you're being asked to do it in less than half of that, probably. When you're designing games, when we talk to people, so much of it is iterative, that you create something and then you refine it and you brush it and then you look at it again. But you didn't have that luxury. You had to make sure that the version of A Realm Reborn that was coming out at that date was the final package. So did that change the way that you had to set up the team and the way your workflow kind of went?
MMORPG の開発に
Use the ether to summon Yoshi P.
もうちょっと強く言っといてくださいまずそのスケジュールトラブルを起こさないためのそのマネジメントの工夫としては、なんだろうな、言い方がちょっと難しいんですけど、ものすごく腕のいい、特に100人に1人ぐらいしかいないようなプログラマーがたくさんやっぱりいるわけではないので、かつものすごい短い期間で大量のコンテンツやアセットを作らなければいけないので、人がたくさんどうしても並行作業が多くなるとかかってしまう。能力のこの差をある意味高いレベルに合わせるんじゃなくて、低いレベルに合わせるというか、言い方が難しいな、平均的なところに合わせるっていうそのマネージメントをすることでリスクをなくすってことをしました。この後ちょっともうちょっと詳しく話します。で、何をしたかというと、とにかく一つのタスク、例えばドラグーンというそのジョブを作るっていう時に、今言ったドラグーンっていうジョブを作るっていうタイトルって1タスクに見えるけど、そうじゃない。実際には何個のドラグーンにはアクションが必要で、そのアクション一つプログラミングするのに、どれだけかかるか。もちろんそのドラグーンの特定のアクションを作る
That was Kurthus?
ために
This is Kurthus before it got
使用書
snowed
が必
on?
要だし、
Before
使用
the
書
before
を
Dalamud?
作っ
Or
た
not
後は
Dalamud, but yeah, I guess
実際
Dalamud.
にその
Yeah.
なんだろう、使用書に例えば2時間かかるなら、それを例えば僕に確認依頼が飛んで僕がチェックするのに例えば15分かかる。そのぐらい一つのタスクに見えるものを徹底的にもう細かく分解させるっていう、ちょっとなんだろうな、究極のそのミニマムな管理方法を引いたので、スタッフは結構ストレスだっただろうなとは思います。で、そのさらにシングルタスクに対して最もこのタスクが自分で早く終わると予測される時間、この時間でこのタスクが完了したら自分を褒めてもいい。逆にこのタスクがこの時間以上かかってしまったら給料をもらう資格がないっていうぐらい、その最悪のケースっていう、そのミニマムで終わる時間とマックスかかってもこれだけだろうっていう時間を両方申告させて、その平均値で基本的にはスケジュールを管理するっていう、
Muted? No.
本当にミニマムマイクロマネージメント、マイクロすぎるぐらいのマイクロマネージメントをしてました。それをウィーク、最初はウィークでみんなそのやり方に慣れてもらうために毎週
he was min-maxing, dude.
でその
He was literally min-maxing his fucking team. This is why he's such a giga brain fucking black mage. He's fucking literally min-maxing a whole team.
で1週間経つと結果が出るので、さらにそこに個人パラメーター例えば吉田はやたらとミニマムをこう短い時間で申告するけど、結局タスクが終わってみるとマックスに寄りがちだなってなった場合は 50% で見積もるんじゃなくて、もうその係数をかけて、吉田はマックス側に寄るからきっと次の週のスプリントはもうちょっとマックス側に寄るだろうみたいなのをどんどんこうで個人特性までそうやって管理してたので1日の稼働時間は8時間ではありますけど、まあ、トイレに行ったり
I wanna be Yoshi P when I grow up.
あと必ずミーティングやその会議室でのミーティングじゃなかったとしても、スタッフと主要の打ち合わせを絶対にそのデスクトゥデスクでフェイストゥフェイスでやることもあると思うので、1日の稼働は6時間で計算してましたね。その時は全員6時間、8時間では見ない。で大体慣れてきたらそれをまあ2週間スプリントに変えて、あとは毎朝必ずスタンドアップミーティングをして、それぞれのセクションで自分のタスクが今どうなってるのか、誰かのタスクが遅れてるせいで自分のタスクに取り掛かれないとかいうのは毎朝スタンドアップミーティングをして、ではこのタスクを入れ替えてこっちを先にやってくれないとこの人が止まってしまうからっていうのをもう全部毎朝やってましたね。だからスクラムっていうそのマネジメント手法のちょっと変形型ですね。ただ最後に言っときますけど、このマイクロマネジメント普通じゃないのでおすすめしないですよ。まあ、2年弱で MMORPG を作る、逆に言うとスタッフにも2年かからず終わるから、このマネジメントだから今は我慢してって言ってやってもらったものなので、一般的には絶対おすすめしないです。細かすぎます。
I mean, anyone can come in and say, "Oh yeah, we're gonna rebuild the game. Follow me." But he came in with, this huge Excel that had all of these lists of everything on it. What we're gonna do here, what we're gonna do here. This is when we're gonna do Unbind. This is what we're gonna do here. And to see that, it's like, okay, this isn't just a stopgap type of thing where a president's like, okay, crazy here. Let's just change the leader and hopefully things will, get better. It was an actual, okay, this guy really wants to do this. He has this plan.
Yoshida had them running like a well-oiled machine, so it was time to get to work. First things first, they had to start the rollout of patches for 1.0, but a critical part of the failure of the first game was the poor communications the development team had with their community. So to keep diehard fans on board during this protracted period of redevelopment, they had to be a lot more transparent.
What we explained to players very first is it was failure. So we need to restart the game. But at that timing we didn't announce the relaunch. Reborn is not announced.
Or
but
communication.
We are going to fix this game. We need more communication. So just list all the changes, plan changes. So some, upper management people doesn't like this, because if you show this to the players, player knows what we will do. So, after that, you did this, but you didn't do this, you didn't this. Everyone can check that. So, some people doesn't really like that way. But when Yoshida-san and myself are discussing how we deal with the community, but what we need to do is to establish the trust.
確かに、今の14のそのユーザーベースから見れば当時のユーザーベースはものすごい小さかったと思う、今と比較すれば。ただ、メディアの皆さんからもそのプレイヤーからもそのファイナルファンタジー14はもうダメだ、むしろなんであんなダメなゲーム遊んでるの君たち、どうかしてるんじゃないのって言われながらも、いやファイナルファンタジーシリーズだから絶対何とかしてくれるはずだ、いやこれはこれで僕らは楽しんでるからほっといてくれ。その11だって最初の頃はいろいろあったけどきっと良くなるはずって言って、数はもちろん今と比較したらすごく小さいそのコミュニティだったかもしれないけど、誰よりもスクエアエニックスやファイナルファンタジーのことを応援してくれている人たちだったので、この人たちを無視するんだと多分この先もうファイナルファンタジーはダメだろうと思ってたので、むしろ何よりも大切にしなきゃいけない部分だったっていうのが最も大きい理由。それは何億円使おうが回収できない 後でコストだと思うので、信頼ってそういうことなのかなっていうふうに会社にもプレゼンテーションしましたし、僕もそう思ってたから、まあ、続けましたけど。あともう一つやっぱり大きなポイントは、本当にファイナルファンタジー14がリバンプしてその大逆転するためには絶対に彼らの力が必要だっていうことももう一つ重要な意味を持っていると考えてました。
Next, Yoshida split his team in half, some working on the new version of 14 and others working on the updates to 1.0, what he called the guts version of the game. But with so much of the game requiring fixing, where do you even start?
まず一番最初にやらなきゃいけないと思ったのは、インターフェースをとにかくなんて言うんだろうな、最低限遊べるように正直本当申し訳ない話なんですけど、僕最初にやっぱりオリジナルの14触った時にインターフェースがあまりにもなんだろう、ひどすぎて話にならない。だって PC バージョンしか出てないのにゲームパッドがないとまともに遊べない。聞いたことがない、そんな PC ゲーム。マウスキーボードでまともに遊べないゲームなんか見たことがなかったので、いくらそのコンテンツを作ろうがジョブを作ろうが、インターフェースがダメだったらコンテンツの面白さに到達する前に人はゲームをやめてしまうので、とにかくインターフェースを直さないとゲームにならないっていうふうに考えたので、一番最初にすごい丁寧に取り掛かったのはやっぱりインターフェースの改修っていうところ。
1.0 gathering, I can't.
僕最初にプレイした時5分ぐらいでやめちゃいました。でもね、笑い話でクイットの仕方が分からなくて、ウィンドウの右上にある×ボタンを押そうとしたんですよ。で押したらこのままゲームを終了するとデータがセーブされない可能性があります。それでもよろしいですかってダイアログが出るのね。いやいやよくないでしょって。いや僕はエンジニアだからサーバーに常に書き込んでるからそんなわけないじゃんって思ってるんですけど、万が一のことがあるから多分出てるんですよ、そのダイアログ。でも意味がわからない。そうなるともう怖くて押せないですよね。なんだこれでノーって押すとまたゲームにいるわけでしょ。 X 押すとダイアログでしょ。どうやってクイットするんだよこのゲーム。
Interface isn't sexy. It's not something you tend to hear a lot about in video games coverage, because really, when it's done correctly, you're not supposed to notice it. So when the early patches for the game concentrated on interface and quality of life updates, much of the community began to get frustrated. The team needed to fix it quickly, so Yoshida employed the help of a Square veteran, one of the developers, on that original 1.0 task force.
はい、皆川博と申します。ファイナルファンタジー14ではユーザーインターフェースの、設計デザインとあと
Yeah, that 1.0 map is a fucking
よろしくお願いします。
travesty.
今47歳なんですけれども、25の時に入社したので、もう22
Terrible implementation.
当時はまだスクエアエニックスがスクエアという会社だったので、ですね、ファイナルファンタジータクティクスの、アートディレクターを担当していました。なので普段は少ない情報、なるべく少ない情報やシンプルな表示を心がけているんですけれども、今回はカスタマイズ性というか、よりツール的な考え方でいろんなプレイヤーがそれぞれ自分の好きなカスタマイズができるようにということを普段よりも強く意識してます。まあ、やはりバトルがテンポのスピーディーなテンポのゲームなので、カーソルフォーカスを十字キーで動かしながら決定するっていう、そういう操作性ではちょっとゲームにならないだろうというところがあったので、かなり最初の頃にクロスホットバーというアクションを選択するインターフェースを考えたんですけれども、ただこのインターフェース自体は割と昔から他のゲームで自分自身作ったり使ったりしていたものだったので、絶対それでいけるだろうなという思いはありました。なので実はそこはあまり苦労していなかったりします。例えば表現方法が変わると必ずその 僕はこっちの方が良かったっていう話は来るんですね。例えばインベントリーは以前はテキストで表示されていたんですけれども、アイコンになると当然なんか似ていてよくわからないとか、なので両方欲しいっていう話は受けて、両方作るのは大変なんだよなっていうそういうところがありました。今でも ARR のリリースから積み残しの仕事リストみたいなのがあるんですけれども、2年以上経って今入るみたいな機能もたまにあったりします。
でもう一つはバトルシステムをとにかく変更しないとコンテンツが作れない。つまりあまり良くないバトルシステムをベースにして、
That looks fucking terrible.
コンテンツが
Oh my
面白くない。
god.
だから順番としてはインターフェースを修正しながらバトルシステムを変更して、やっとその先にコンテンツを
God.
っていうのが、順番としては僕は真っ当だと思った。当時のバトルシステムも当時は15人でパーティー。
It was worse than it looks.
しかもマジックポイント MP の管理っていうものがほぼなかったので、当時のファイナルファンタジー14の中で最強の回復魔法だったケアルガーっていうスペルをずっと連打してても MP がゼロにならない。延々ケアルガーして OK で、他の魔法いらないよね。じゃあとにかく当時は15人で一つのモンスターを殴りまくって回復しまくってっていうすごい大雑把なゲームだったので、これを戦略的なバトルシステム計算式に変えていかないとコンテンツが面白くならない。だから UI を直しながらバトルシステムを変更して、でそれらの準備をしながら最も重要だと思ってたのはファイナルファンタジーエレメントっていうものをとにかく入れていくことっていうのが次のというか最も大きな課題だっていうふうに思ってました。なぜなら当時ジョブもなかった、ナイトもいない、ブラックメイジもいない、ホワイトメイジもいない。これはファイナルファンタジーなのか。チョコボに乗れるわけでもないし、イフリートは出てきてるけど戦えないし、一体何なんだこのゲーム。だから僕らがコンテンツとして入れていかなきゃいけなかったのはやっぱりイフリートやガルーダ、
You couldn't fucking jump.
いわゆる召喚獣って一般的に呼ばれてるものとのボスバトルを入れていかなきゃいけないと思ったし、チョコボに乗れないなんて MMO なのに話にならないからチョコボにちゃんと乗れるようにしなきゃいけないし、何よりジョブがないのが FF じゃない。
Just what is this game?
少なくとも僕は FF だと思わないので、だったらジョブをちゃんと入れていこうっていうところが、でもそれもやっぱりさっき言ったようにインターフェースとバトルシステムが直ってなければいいものにはならない。
You couldn't even ride chocobos back then, dude.
だ
That's
から回収をやりながらきちんと仕様を
that is a disgrace.
クリアしていくっていうのを中盤以降は続けて、そこからやっぱりグッドゲームの評判はやっぱり Q14 も良くなっていて、プレイヤーもずっと増え続けていったので少しずつですけど、
On foot for
あれは僕らも
hours,
すごい
dude.
励まされました。や
Tragic.
っぱりちゃんと面白いものを作っていけばみんなプレイをしてくれるっていうのも数字の上からもよく見えたので、
Yeah.
当時の7つ一気にリリースされた7つのジョブ、パッチナンバーは忘れちゃったけど7つのジョブがいっぺんに実装されたんですけど、たった一人のゲームデザイナーが作ったんで。
Jesus.
The team had their sights set on what needed to be changed and how they were going to do it. For the first time in years, they were feeling hopeful, and even better, players were finally starting to respond with positivity. But right as they were settling into this new reality and finding their rhythm, disaster struck. For 6 minutes, Japan shook. A 9.0 earthquake had struck 200 miles northeast of Tokyo, and a resulting tsunami devastated coastal regions.
Holy
What followed
shit.
was a humanitarian and infrastructural disaster that can be barely comprehended. While the country rallied to help those affected, Tokyo suffered aftershocks and frequent electrical blackouts. I asked Yoshida-san if he'd like to share how this had affected the team.
まあ東京もそうは言ってもすごい揺れたので、やっぱりまあ当日はね、会社に泊まった方が安全だって言って帰らないでずっとニュースを見てるっていう人たちもいたし、やっぱり東北に 家族とかね親戚とかいるスタッフも当然いたので、まあもう正直言うともう開発どころではなかったのは確かにそうですね。で開発なんか優先すべきじゃないと思うので、やっぱりみんな開発者の前に人なので、まあ日本中電力が足りなくなっていたので、まあ本当に些細なのかもしれないけどサーバーを全部落とそう、まあ少しでも協力できることがあればっていうことで、プレイヤーの皆さんにも申し訳ないんですけどサーバーを一定期間止めますっていう話をして、そんな時期でしたね。ただサーバーの稼働を再開してからプレイヤーの方からまあお手紙をいただいたりしたんですけど、エオルゼアの中で遠くにいる友達の無事が確認できた、エオルゼアがあったから電話も通じない、連絡の手段がなかったところ、エオルゼアの中にログインしてきてくれたことで無事だったっていうのが分かった。逆にその周りの人たちの情報っていうのも分かったっていうお話をいくつかいただいて、まあ電力が足りなければね当然そのサーバーなんて落とせばいいかなと思うんですけど、そうじゃない限りは続けるっていうこともエオルゼアを維持しておくっていうことも一つのなんかこうサポートなのかなって思った機会でもありましたね、その時は。だから続けてくれてありがとうって言われたんですよ、ファイナルファンタジー14を。開発であとは最も大きかったのは、実はイフリートの次に戦うボスはリヴァイアさんの予定で、リヴァイアさんをかなりの速度で作ってたんですけど、とてもじゃないけどリリースなんかできないっていう話で、だからイフリートの後モーグリが実装されているのはそれが理由ですね。急いでモーグリを作り直した。
Oh my god, the Moogle battle!
し直したので。
What?
いや、そんなことはなかったですよ。
What did he just say?
したので、急いでモーグリを作る。だからイフリートの後モーグリが実装されているのはそれが理由ですね。急いでモーグリを作り直したというか企画し直したので。
Good King Moogle
そん
Mug.
なことはなかったですよ。みんなやっぱりそれぞれの。
Imagine releasing Leviathan IRL after a tsunami. Yeah. That's probably a good idea. That seems maybe a little tone deaf to put something like that out right after that. I think Moose mentioned this to you on Mog Talk. I can't remember. Yeah, Titan had a similar problem, which is why we got Mog. Damn.
会社に来れない人たちも何日か会社も休みにしてるんで、ただどっちかっていうと自分たちにできることをやろうっていうみんな感じだった。じゃあ全員で福島に行って何か僕らが活動することって意味があるのか、あれだけたくさんの人たちが押しかけてる中で。だったら僕らは彼らが落ち着いた時にゲームを楽しく遊べるように、僕らは結局ゲーム作るしか脳がないので、ゲームを作り続けるのが結局何よりなのかもっていう、こういう話はしなかったですけど、みんなそういう感じで復帰してきてましたよ、仕事に。
Over the coming months, the team would release patch after patch for 1.0. 1.17 introduced 8-player parties and more stable network infrastructure. 1.18 dropped in June 2011 and was a huge patch that made the game much more playable. Level caps lowered for story quests. It added grand companies, class adjustments, instance dungeons, and auto-attack. Yes, would you believe this game still didn't have auto-attack? It featured a more user-friendly map interface and also scrapped the controversial fatigue system.
And so we need to take this concept that Yoshida-san has created, make it fit with the current world, write stories around it, make the transition seem seamless, and then in the new world, make it so that there's still some connection with that old world that will be understood by those core players, but won't alienate new players. It won't be something like, oh, you didn't play that old, the stuff in 1.0, so you're going to be completely lost. Because we don't want to do that either. We want to get new players to come that didn't play the original one, and we don't want to have them have to play the original to understand this one. And so trying to work the story that way was, it was challenging, but it was a lot of fun. We got to try a lot of things. We had a lot of freedom, then especially on the 1.x stuff, because in a sense, it would only be released, seen for a few months, and then it would be gone forever. And so, on one hand, that's really exciting because we can do whatever we want. We can create these crazy stories, have these crazy characters, all of these crazy situations, and go, balls to the wall. But on the other hand, we're working day and night on something that only a few thousand people are going to see and will be gone in 6 months. I really think, I look back at it now, I think we did a lot of our best work during that one point. And it's sad that no one is ever going to see that. Maybe, there's some videos up on YouTube where people can still go back and check them out. But a lot of, some of the best stories, some of the most crazy stuff went on during that 1.x period because it was pretty much no holds barred. Anything can happen. You
That's
had
so awesome.
Crazy cults, and you had people from the Garlean Empire. There was propaganda, giant dragons and machines, and it was just anything goes in type of situation there, and it was just really a lot of fun.
1.19 signified.
He got so excited. He got very excited about that. We have cults and other stuff and cults.
Anniversary. Players finally got personal chocobos, and in the distance,
chocobos. Okay. I worked with someone that called them chocobos. Okay. It's fucking chocobo, right? Chocobos. He's Irish, he gets a pass. He said everything else just fine.
in the night sky burns
Choke like
slightly
choke a
brighter,
bitch.
a sign
What
of
the
things
fuck?
to come.
At the very
That's not
first
funny.
time, it was just some rumor between players. Oh, is it getting bigger? No, I don't think so.
This was also when Square Enix announced that an entirely new
You missed something? God damn it.
Players finally got personal chocobos, and in the distance, one light in the night sky burnt slightly brighter, a sign of things to come.
I know a game that had that too.
Very first time, it was just some rumor between players. Oh, is
World of Warcraft.
Getting bigger? No, I don't think so.
This was also when Square Enix announced that an entirely new version of the game had been in development since January, and that current players would receive copies of it for free. They also announced that players' character data and progress would be transferred to this new version, what they were then calling version 2.0. A roadmap for patches was outlined, and it was announced that monthly fees would be reinstated as of January 2012. As an incentive for players to keep playing while the fees were introduced, they announced Legacy Campaign, which rewarded players who paid for at least 3 months of service with permanently reduced monthly fees. Those players would also get an exclusive Chocobo mount, while as a thank you for their support during the redevelopment, their names would be featured in the credits of the new game.
That's so sick. I so wish I'd have been on that, dude. I would have definitely, I'd have just paid for it just because. That's still going? That discount's still a thing? What? Really? That is so cool.
1.2 was the final patch of 2011. It saw all the servers renamed, while the Moon Dalamud now seemed larger in the sky. 1.21 came in March 2012, introducing a new job system and 2 new dungeons. 1.22 followed in April. Dalamud grew closer, and now some players are beginning to have nightmares. Ominous dreams greet players who log into the game while at an inn. The community all the while trying to figure this out. Is the moon going to destroy the world? Then how will player data be saved in 2.0? They wouldn't have to wait long for answers. That summer, a trailer revealed that 2.0 would be titled A Realm Reborn, and Yoshida-san conducted numerous interviews explaining the future of the game and the features players can expect. On September 12, 2012, the final patch for 1.0 was released. The game updates to 1.23b, and with it comes an enormous Dalamud, its mechanical outer shell now in full view. Players now realizing that this world didn't have long left. On November 1st, 2012, a final in-game battle began. Square Enix made entry free for the final week of the game, while a haunting song can be heard playing on the wind across the entire realm. While the server struggled to deal with the load, players got together with their friends one last time, as the development team in Japan spammed enemies outside capital cities. One group of players outside of Golda has become legendary, attempting to protect the city with what we now call the Great Gobu Wall.
Right before Dalamud hit Elzir, we had to do some chaotic situation to the existing world. So what we decided to do is to spawn the strong enemies at the near the main cities. Even when I popped the
And those players are now a part of actual FFXIV history. Get the fuck.
Monsters,
That's so sick.
instantly. Yeah, instantly. Yeah, just snap. So, oh Jesus. So you killed my monster again. So what we can do is just keep spawning the lots of monsters, and then in very late night when I was doing, keep spawning the monsters.
He's just sitting there just spawning them.
I've never talked to him before, but just coming down to my desk and then just give me a bit of paper with some numbers. Which numbers I can understand. This is the number of the certain monster.
Okay.
I can type in. So
it's in the encyclopedia?
Oh,
okay.
Then I can spawn a very new, stronger monsters. Oh, thank you very much. It's a program. So that was a very fun moment.
You were like playing God.
At first, I felt like God. Hey, players, can you beat my monsters? But no. I was very weak God.
They were God.
Yeah, they were God.
So it was then, on Sunday, November 11th, 2012, just over a year after Final Fantasy XIV was originally launched, with Dalamud hanging in the sky, that the servers were finally turned off. And as they did, a trailer dropped, showing players what was to become of their old home.
Well, it's pretty simple. You had something that not a lot of people liked, and everyone wanted to forget about it. So rather than, just taking that and doing it over, and just reimagining it, why not destroy that and start over? If we leave too much of that original core there, then it will just linger on as that kind of cancer that, will always bring us back to that failure. Why not just clean the slate? But on the other hand, and this is where, things kind of got complicated, is that, no matter how bad the reviews were and how many people bought the game but then left the game, there was still this core of players in both Japan and, Europe, North America, that were passionate about the game. In the state that it was, they were passionate about the game. They were passionate about the series and their characters that they had created and were now living in this MMO. And so, it would have been easy to just say, okay, bye guys, But if you do that, then you've basically alienated the only group that stuck with you, for all of those years, when everyone else is slamming the game and talking about how bad it is. Those guys were troopers. They would go on the forums. They were defending, the development team when a lot of times we didn't deserve defending. So that idea to wipe the slate clean, but not make it something completely new, make it something that was connected in some way to that to the old game. The decision made by Yoshida-san to, okay, let's bring down Dalamud, destroy the planet, destroy the realm, but then bring it back. Figuring out a way to make that happen within the current story. Make it feel natural. Make it feel like that was always the plan. Was the biggest challenge, I think.
The team at Square Enix had worked themselves to the bone, not only recreating Final Fantasy XIV in A Realm Reborn.
See, World of Warcraft wouldn't even have that problem because I've already done it for them. Before they introduced the jailer, I could have told them how to end their fucking, how to do it with their game and then continue the game going. They wouldn't have even had to do any work. I could have just been like, here's the outline. It makes perfect sense. If you just say these couple things, you do like 2 retcons and everything is golden. Half the fucking work is done.
But also by dedicating time and money to ensuring that 1.0 players felt part of that story. The moon, Dalamud, had crashed into the world of Eorzea. That world was gone forever.
Also, Asmund did, and a lot of players, they just won't listen. No, I don't think you understand. I mean, I could literally tell them character for character and in what order and how they should literally write their story to get there.
Remained. What was going to rise out of its ashes?
All right. Part 3.
Hello and welcome to the final part of our fantastical tale. We sit on the eve of the rebirth of Square Enix's new world. Almost exactly 3 years after the original catastrophic launch, Eorzea was going to be getting a second chance. But this time, everybody knew it wasn't going to be getting a third.
Once Dalamud had struck, Yoshida-san moved the 1.x patch team into the main
I'm not
team
really
working
worried
on
about
A
it.
Realm Reborn, taking lessons from contemporary MMOs, feedback from players over the 1.x phase, and elements that worked from the original version. They crafted a modern Final Fantasy XIV, set in a vibrant world that reflected the energy of the franchise. And for Yoshida-san and some other members of the team, this was going to be a very public thing, as they took the short train ride from the office in Shinjuku to Shibuya to take part in a very special launch event.
その渋谷のイベントへ向かうために朝電車に乗ってた。で、少しリハーサルを当然やらなきゃいけないので、少し早めに家を出て、いよいよ発売日かって思いながらその電車に乗っていたら、ちょうどそのドアの近くに立ってたんですよ。そしたらそのドアの僕は右側に立ってたんだけど、左側に立っていた男の子、多分大学生ぐらいだと思うんだけど、緑の綺麗な男の子がすっと僕のところに寄ってきて、小声で「吉田さんですよね」本当に発売おめでとうございますってプレイヤーですって言われたんですよ。でそんな状況でそのイベントを始めて、でみんなでそのここまで来る話をステージでしていて、最後マイクが渡ってきて話をしようとしたら、その朝そう言われたことをちょっと思い出しちゃって、いやいろいろあったなって思ったら、言葉に詰まっちゃった瞬間にその来てたプレイヤーたち、お客さんたちがこう頑張れって言われちゃって、もう昨日もちょっと話したように MMO って発売してもそれがゴールじゃないスタートなので、なんかあんまり感傷に浸ってる暇なんて本来ないんだけど、思わずこうプレイヤーにこう頑張れって言われたせいで泣けてきちゃって、恥ずかしかったですね。
運営を続けていこうと思います。
本当にありがとうございます。そしてこれからもどうぞよろしくお願いします。
Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn is a great MMORPG experience on both PC and PlayStation 3. Grounded in tradition and learning from the lessons of the games that preceded it, it thrives on the strengths of its excitingly varied and flexible class system and highly mobile combat.
The game's rough launch is mostly over, but you still might have to contend with login errors. But this is, by and large, a very good massively multiplayer game filled with lots of stuff to do, gorgeous vistas to behold, and lots of adorable narrative touches.
The challenge ahead for Square is to achieve the delicate balance of questing, dungeons, and fates for the second half of the leveling process, as well as it has the first. But considering the stunning reversal of fortune that Square has achieved here, it seems like anything is possible.
So what was it like then on your end after, years of working on this game, having the launch, basically being required to work on two separate games at the same time, patching one and then building an entirely new one, almost in secret for a large part of it, to then see, what was it like reading reviews and reading message boards when people were like, oh fuck, they did it?
It was, we were just as surprised. Not as surprised because again, it was definitely different. In those months before releasing the original, I knew that the game wasn't in good shape, and so it's kind of, you're lying to yourself, trying to say, no, this is gonna be good, they're gonna like this part, they're gonna like this part, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay. But with A Realm Reborn, playing it's like, this is a really good game. You're playing it, enjoying it. But there's still that little bit in the back of your mind that's like, and it's what we were told, is that once the game has been reviewed, even if you try to rebuild it, everyone's going to remember the old. They're not going to look at the new. Metacritic never forgets. When 14 came out, the original, and it was
Kojium.
People were like, okay, I think, I'm a hardcore offline Final Fantasy guy, but I'll try out this new one. But then, okay, it's terrible. See, I knew it. It's terrible. They're not going to want to come back for a second time. It's like, no, I already played that. It was terrible. And so there was just this feeling that even if it's a really great game, no one's going to play it. They're just going to brush it off because it's the bad Final Fantasy Online that I tried, in beta and it sucked, so I'm not going to play it anymore. And so yeah, we were afraid of that. But then, wow, it was just, servers breaking not breaking, but servers getting so packed with people in those first few days, and then seeing the reviews come in, and they saved, and then they start saying things like, you saved the franchise, and you saved the series, and I don't know, remembering what it was like, at their launch of 1.0, and then just being able to, because who gets to re-experience a bad launch? It's something you don't get in the game industry. And
especially in MMOs.
And we did, and it was a great experience to be able to say, it was just that vindication of all of that extra work that we had put in. It was what Yoshida-san had promised us. If we worked hard and we did this right, that in a year and a half's time, we can do this. And a lot of people didn't believe him, and a normal person probably wouldn't believe him. But maybe that's why we were able to do it, because all of the abnormals remained and made something that was, literally impossible happen.
やっぱりサーバーがあまりにも混雑して遊べない、せっかくパッケージをお金を出して買ってきたのにゲームが遊べないとは何事だ、オンラインゲームだから当然サーバーに繋がらないと遊べないので。評価とか以前の問題で買ってもらったのに遊べない状況を作ってること自体が 僕にとっては
Yeah, I was gonna say there. Foreshadowing a month from now.
要因ですけど、だから評価云々の前にまずちゃんとゲームに接続して遊べるようにしなきゃっていうことばっかりが当時の1ヶ月半ぐらい出荷を停止したりとか販売を停止したりとか、それしか全然覚えてないですね。
With most other genres, this would be the part of the story where we fade to black and roll credits, but such luxuries don't exist in the world of massively multiplayer online games. In fact, after the release of A Realm Reborn, or 2.0 as they call it internally, the team applied the same content-rich patching schedule they had undertaken with 1.0, releasing a significant 2.x patch to the game every 3 to 4 months. Over the next 2 years, these patches progressed the story of ARR, added in epic raids and new modes such as 72-player PvP battles. But just like before, while the team was working on these 2.x patches, they were concurrently building an updated version of the game, the first expansion pack, Heavensward.
2014年の10月
A fucking masterpiece is what that is, dude. God damn.
にも吉田さん申請したら楽になるって言ってませんでしたっけってバカ MMO これだけ巨大な規模の MMO は最初のエクスパンションパック出すところまでがスタートダッシュなんだよって言ってごめんねって
I know we just finished, but
well,
you're gonna have to be kind of like the warrior of light right now and just kind of keep going.
Not having another letdown. Don't take for granted that the rebuild was a success. We can't just expect our users to say, oh, they're going to release expansion so we can do whatever we want and doesn't matter, they'll buy it, ha ha ha. You know, there was none of that sense. One good thing that came out of the failed launch is that it's instilled into, you know, the developers, all of the developers' minds that, you know, we have to always strive to be better. We can't, you know, let our guard down. It's in everyone's mind, and it's always lurking back there. We don't want to repeat that, and because of that, everyone is like always on the top of their game.
Is that still there even now? Because it's been 3.5 years.
Well, I mean, yeah, the old guard, yes, we all have that. We all have that. But it's not all the old guard anymore. People have moved off onto other projects. Some people have left the company to go freelance, you know, explore new opportunities. A lot of new people have come in. And so...
all without any crazy sexual harassment lawsuits. Incredible, dude. It's incredible. Incredible.
A lot of people, yeah, don't remember, you know, what happened in 1.0 because they
you
weren't
summer
there.
children.
That's right. Exactly.
Imagine.
And, you know, us old timers can tell them, well, back in my day, we did it. And they'll be like, yeah, okay, whatever. And, you know, sometimes it does feel like that. There's always the
Boomer.
chance that, you know, you can just get too full of yourself and not do 100%, not learn from your mistakes, and that, you know, the community was like, no, we're done.
Just a typical Japanese work-life balance.
We were lucky to be given
you guys
a
are
second
so
chance.
salty, some of you.
We were really lucky to have that second chance actually succeed. I don't know, third time, I don't know if I want to, you know, press my luck any further. It's not a good, fun situation to be in. The things that I've learned over these past 7-8 years working on 11, the original and the new and the expansions, is something that I'm going to carry with me to all future projects, as it will with, I mean, all of the other devs that have done that. A piece of that Final Fantasy XIV 1.0, a piece of that, you know, ARR and the expansions will be with all of them, and you know, hopefully they'll be able to use that in all their future projects.
Heavensward was another win for the team. Critically praised and loved by the community, it helped push cumulative subscriptions for the game beyond 5 million. In fact, the amount of players in Eorzea has kept rising.
当然上がり下がりはあります。上がり下がりをしながら少しずつ右へ上がっていくっていうのが、まああんまり他の MMO ではない曲線なのかもしれないですけど、とにかくゲームデザインでずっとこのファイナルファンタジー14というゲームをプレイし続けていなければついていけなくなるとか、 その一度やめてしまったら戻れないっていうふうに絶対にならないようにっていうのが14のゲームデザインの根幹にある。
Thank God.
なぜなら今本当にみんな忙しい。一つのゲームだけになんだろう、毎日ログインし続けられるわけじゃない。それはもともと MMO が大好きな僕ですらそうなので、そう考えた時に遊びたい時に遊んで、メジャーアップデートが来たら一気に遊んで、少し落ち着いて他のゲームも遊んだり、家族サービスをしたり、でまたメジャーが来たらそれでいいと思う。
No engagement metrics, dance game.
そうじゃないと多分やっていけない。でやっぱり
No FOMO tactics.
ゲーム1本分の新しい体験が来た時、
If you pay for 6 months of our subscription, you get a mount. Please come back. It's a cat.
やっぱりそのパッチの間で上がり下がりはする。ただ評判を聞いてずっと増え続けていくっていうのが理想だと思ってるし、14はそれでやれてきてるので、ただもっともっと遊んでほしい、たくさんの人にと思ってるので、チャレンジをまだまだ続けたいとは思ってます。
The latest expansion pack, Stormblood, comes hot on the heels of 2 years worth of 3.x patches, which have added fresh storylines and features to Heavensward. With it comes increased level caps, new dungeons, jobs, raids, zones, and some changes to the battle system. Stormblood will also mark the end of the game's lifetime on the PlayStation 3, but of course in the intervening years, the team has since launched the game on the PlayStation 4. Final Fantasy XIV had been a financial disaster for Square Enix. Subscriptions were turned off for most of the 1.x era, and the company poured significant funds and trust into the team tasked with its rebirth. The importance of this franchise to the company is mirrored by its importance to its players and of course the development team. This is a group of people who have dedicated years into ensuring that this game came back from the dead. Yoshida-san says he only needs about 4 hours sleep a night. I asked him about his social life. He says he doesn't really remember anything except work. He speaks fondly of those players that stuck with the team, those warriors of light that were saved at the end of 1.0. His respect for fans of this game and all Final Fantasy fans is clear to see. The realm of Eorzea is totally different now. A bustling, vibrant place full of stories, quests, and adventurers. A world expanded upon even more with the release of Stormblood. But the old world, the story of 1.0, the fall of Dalamud, and the people who survived the cataclysm will always live on. Those who were there, be them player or developer, will forever be bound together by that experience.
Instead of a lot of games will create, these myths for their games, we have a myth that actually happened, but because it happened so long ago and only a few people saw it, most of the new players now, they look at back and it's like, did it really happen? What is this battle with the White Raven on Riven Road? And it was just this grand battle, all different levels and this, dimensional rifts, and it sounds like an actual myth, but it's not just a story we made up for this, it's actually happened. And as the game progresses and new players come on, it's further and further back in history that this really cool thing happened. And so, that Visual Works cutscene, I remember watching it, I'm just like, goosebumps all over. I'm watching with all of these other, like the directors and producers and the director of the Visual Works, and we're all sitting there and they're all watching it, and I'm just watching and like I've got like tear in my eyes, yeah, it's dust. And it was that powerful because it kind of encompassed not only what the character went through, it was an image of what we as developers had done as well. At the beginning, we're all, let's do this. It's going to be an adventure. We're like that first cutscene where, with the party that goes out and they have their guild leave and they go out and they fight the Morble, and that's us at the beginning. And then the release hits you and you're down. Then you have that cutscene where it's just like everyone's working together to make something new, and then it fails, but no, it didn't fail, and you're just, and all of the memories of the past years, the good and the bad, kind of all come together, and just so overwhelming. And that's pretty much the reaction then when we finally released it to the public that we got. So many people, I just remember the forums, checking out the forums that day. People were just like, I've been in tears all day, I've watched it 10 times, and to see that, that everyone felt the same way. It wasn't just the development team, it's that you have this hardcore group of very, very loyal fans that they believed in the game, we believed in the game, we stuck together, we were able to build, this new thing that's not just
so
us,
cool,
but
dude.
it's opening
Fuck.
up the doors for a whole new
So
audience.
awesome.
But remember, we were there first. We're the ones that that stood by it, and we're the ones that did this. And to have the pride in that, those players, those warriors of light that were the before Meteor guys. Yoshida-san in interviews will always talk about those people that supported us, and we couldn't have done it. I mean, it sounds so cliche. Oh, we couldn't have done it without your support. Literally, we could not have done it. Literally, we could not have done it. I mean, if those people hadn't remained, we just would no, let's forget it. We're not going to do it. We wouldn't have put as much effort in. It would have just been, okay, yeah, whatever, let's just free to play,
Back when 1.0 came out, and could you have imagined that 3-4 years later you'd be in a fan event with thousands of people in Germany?
No, I don't really imagine that. Yeah, I mean, one day, we were, always saying one day we want to run a big fan event. We were, actually dreaming to have a huge fan festival in the future at that time. But actually, yeah, we made it. So yeah, that was really great.
Some dreams come true.
Yes, yes.
I'll probably go to the next one.
長いんですけれど
I will probably go to the next one, to be honest.
もあんまり変な言い方ですけど会社に対して帰属意識というかそこはあまりなくてですねやっぱりゲーム作るって誰と一緒に作るかがすごく大切でそこが一番重要だなと思っているんで今回のプロジェクトは本当に組んでみたいというスタッフと組んですごく大きなことがやれてすごい楽しかったし楽しいですねって感じではい。
強調したいことがあるとすればその初日に 1.0 の話をしてましたけど
It sells out within
誰か
minutes.
一人もしくはデベロップメントチームが
I can get some tickets.
ということではなくてやっぱ
There's
り
ways.
今でも本当に会社自体の大きな過ちが全ての悪い部分がファイナルファンタジー14で出てしまったっていうそれはリリース
Ways. I might have to trade foot pictures for them, but yeah, I'll
それ
get
が
them.
全て爆発したのがファイナルファンタジー14のオリジナルバージョンだったんじゃないかって本当に強く思ってるので
I've got a guy.
14の
Media pass, actually. That's what I would probably go for.
15がリリースできて
Let's be honest. If they had that.
少しずつ変わってきたと思ってるしもっと変わらなきゃいけないと思ってるもしかすると少し安心してる人たちも今いるのかもしれないけどまだまだ変わらなきゃいけないと思ってるのでそのあたりがうまく
Hold on, I want to make sure that I see what he said there. I want to get this whole thing here. This is important to me.
帰属意識というか
I was reading chat here.
強調したいことがあるとすれば初日に 1.0 の話をしてましたけど誰か一人もしくはデベロップメントチームがということではなくてやっぱり今でも本当に会社自体の大きな過ちが全ての悪い部分がファイナルファンタジー14で出てしまったっていうそれはリリースって意味のデータではなくてそれが全て爆発したのがファイナルファンタジー14のオリジナルバージョンだったんじゃないかって本当に強く思ってるので
It's a manifestation of all the bad things.
14のリバンプを会社全体としてやって15がリリースできてスクエニは少しずつ変わってきたと思ってるしもっと変わらなきゃいけないと思ってるもしかすると少し安心してる人たちも今いるのかもしれないけどまだまだ変わらなきゃいけないと思ってるのでそのあたりがうまく伝わってるといいなとは思います。これは なんだろう、スクエアエニックスっていう会社が作るゲームに期待してもらってる人が世界中にたくさんいると思うんですけど、僕もそうだったから、でもまだまだスクエアエニックスってこのレベルじゃないじゃん、もっと上いけるじゃんって思ってくれてるはずなので、そのためにはもっと変わらなきゃいけないし、チャレンジもしなきゃいけないと思ってるので、そういった要素も今回のそのお話でうまく伝わってくれると嬉しいかなとは思います。僕らはそういうつもりでやってますっていうメッセージが少しでもね出ていけばいいなとは。プレイヤーの皆さんと会社が望めばそうなってると思いますし、プレイヤーの皆さんや会社が他のゲームを作れって望んでくれれば他のゲーム作ってるかもしれないですし、両方一緒に同時にやってるかもしれないし、僕は少なくともスクエアエニックスって今会社の、スタッフで自分の会社なわけではないので、やっぱプレイヤーの皆さん、ファンの皆さんがスクエアエニックスに何を期待するのかっていうのを会社がどう考えるかだと僕は思ってるんで、まあ、もちろん自分で作ってみたいゲームがないわけじゃもちろんないですけど、まあ、好きなものを作りたいならね、会社辞めて自分で会社作って作ればって思っちゃうんで、まあ望まれる限りは頑張ろうと思いますけど、ただそろそろねプロデューサーとディレクターのどっちかは誰かやってくんねえかなって思いますけどね。
Can I get a little help here?
The tale of the death and rebirth of Final Fantasy XIV Online is a cautionary tale in corporate hubris. It's a story about the power of humility, respect, and unity. A fun story for those of us who knew nothing about it, cherished times for those who were fortunate enough to be there when it all happened, and a wonderful reminder of something we come across so often in life, the idea that reality can often be even more amazing than the fantasy.
Damn, dude. That was so solid. So solid. Well, I see why you guys recommend it. I understand. For some reason, there's no chat on the camera. FF16 trailer? I don't think I've seen that. I don't think I have. Nope, I haven't seen this. Just Awakening trailer? First one.
You all know the target. Shiva's dominant. And only the dominant.
How do we even know the girl will be among us?
Our kind do not question orders, we follow them.
Sergeant, let's summon their icon.
Icon?
Oh, fuck.
That thing's a bloody mountain.
Oh. Oh, shit.
Our foe will not relinquish their mother crystal easily. This will be a bitter fight.
You should not be out of doors. We have discussed this. Come, Joshua. Your father will be expecting us.
I am Joshua's shield. I'm sworn to protect him.
What do you mean you refuse? Did you not pledge your sword to our cause?
This looks fucking sick.
It was the Dalmex who drove back the Crusaders in the Battle of the Twin Realms, was it not?
Without the blessing of the Mother Crystal, we cannot defend our realm from the spread of the Blight.
Oh, okay. Dude.
Imperial Vipers. Do they really mean to invade us?
Oh, Jesus.
It's the Archduke's son.
The Phoenix.
Stop this!
Second icon of fire. But that's impossible.
Oh, man. Oh, fuck. Oh, shit.
The legacy.
Ifrit looks sick. Oh, man. Dude.
Has shaped our history.
Dude.
I'll kill you. If it's the last thing I do.
Dude. Oh, fuck. That's pretty dope. Oh, the music is so good. Ah! Yeah, that's pretty tight, dude. Leave that one a like. Yes, sir. Endwalker full trailer. Ah! Do it! Do it! Dude, the NoClip doc is sick. That's really good, dude. That's a really interesting look into the internal struggles. I didn't realize that they were developing stuff for the end of 1 dot and still working. Yeah, I just can't believe it. With that, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye for now. I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for coming to watch, and stay awesome. And until next time, I will see you guys later. Peace.